Happy Thursday. Welcome to another live webinar, everyone. I'm your host, Olivia Higgins. Now, while we wait for a few more people to join us, here is a video crafted and curated just for you. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, especially to those who just joined us. Once again, you're here on another live show. Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm your host, Olivia Higgins. Now, I'd like to remind you at this stage that today is all about education, okay? So network within the communities, wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's in-app or the other broadcast channels. And also shout out to those tuning in on YouTube right now. I see some comments already in the section. But at this point, remember to ask your questions, okay? So really, today is a two-way street. We really want you to learn, but at the same time, we will teach you how to apply what you learn and also have some of your burning questions answered so that you can invest smarter. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Today's topic is about spotting your next entry and exit opportunity using TA. And TA, of course, referring to technical analysis. So for those of you who have followed us in the last few months, you know that as an update, we launched our global strategic partnership with Nasdaq. So today is about showing you how you can leverage on TotalView and level 2 market data so that you can help yourselves spot that possible opportunity for exit and also the entry points, especially with the recent market revelations. Now we'll go more in depth as we transition through the live show. Today with me, let's welcome from Nasdaq APAC Head of Product Management and Support Investment Intelligence in Shabo and Chief Market Strategist from Moomoo Singapore, Issac Lim, everyone. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Thank you for having me in this webinar, Olivia. My name is Cher, overseeing the APAC Product Management for Data Business with Nasdaq. Today, I hope that I can provide a greater insight into Nasdaq TotalView data products during this forum. Over to you, Olivia.
Perfect. And Issac, what about yourself? This is first show with Nasdaq and yourself, so we're really looking forward to the insights you're about to share. But tell the audience who you are and the objective of today.
Hi, Olivia. So very nice introduction by my counterpart in Cher. Just a little bit about me. My name is Issac. I'm currently the Chief Market Strategist over here at Moomoo Singapore, right? So what I do on a day-to-day basis is I actually give market outlooks and even weekly updates, right, to both the in-app community and even do external speaking engagement, focusing on market outlooks and financial literacy talks as well, right? So I'm very happy to be able to share with you one of my favorite topics, right? When it comes to trading and investing, that's technical analysis. So I'm going to save that part for later, but just a little bit about myself. Back to you, Olivia.
Absolutely. Thank you, Isaac. And shout out to Trader's Edge on the in-app community. If you don't know what that's about, you'll find out towards the end of the live show when we share a QR code for you to really delve into how you can stay up to date with all the latest market insights and also related to Nasdaq. Now, we'll start off the live show with sharing the outlook as we transition into the second half of the year. That's so quick. 2024 is just passing so quickly. Now, we'll be back with you shortly and share as Isaac presents his insights for the outlook going into the second half of the year with recent market revelations. The floor is yours, Isaac.
Thank you, Olivia. Right, so I'm not going to take up too much time because, we really want to dive into the topic of today, right? But very quickly, let me just share with our audience on YouTube and in-app, right, what I expect to see going forward into the markets. So as you guys know, this year, equities market in particular started off really, really strongly. We saw the S&P and the Nasdaq making new highs, right? Even despite going into Q2, despite the shaky start to Q2 in the month of April, as you guys would already know, last night the S&P and Nasdaq made new all-time historical highs once more, right? So definitely the long-term trajectory for what I see for the rest of this year going into the second half of the year, right, is that one that instead of a soft landing, right, I foresee that we're going to be taking off, right? So equities markets are going to go higher, rates still going to continue to stay elevated at this around the same level, right? But of course, inflation is definitely getting a bit more managed. But from that point of view, from the inflation and interest rate point of view, that one still remains to be seen whether the US Federal Reserve's restrictive policies are really working, right? But one thing that I really want to focus on as we go into the second half of 2024, as you guys would already know, is that this year, 2024, is the year of elections, right? So elections, not just not just in the US, but across the globe, right? We're seeing a lot of elections take place. And this can definitely contribute, to the growing instability in terms of geopolitical tensions, right? We have we already concluded the Taiwanese elections, right? The one in Asia that is leading the charge right now is actually the India's major elections, right? And then of course, towards the end of the year, okay, we're gonna see Russian elections conclude, right? We're gonna see the US elections as well, and definitely all eyes are on the rematch between previous US President Donald Trump and the current incumbent President Joe Biden. And if you guys have been following on the news, just as recently as this week, President Joe Biden has already issued sort of a verbal challenge to Donald Trump, and they have already settled the dates for 2 debates. So the presidential election is heating up against a backdrop of increasing geopolitical tensions, both in Europe, right, between Ukraine and Russia, and then in the Middle East, right, between Israel and Hamas as well, right? So geopolitical tensions are being stretched. US presidential race is heating up. We still have this issue of high interest rates at the same time, right? So what does this really mean for investors? Okay, so I think the road ahead is going to be a rocky one, right? But at the end of the day, I'm still pretty optimistic, right, that investors can continue to stay, bullish, can still continue to expect sort of a cautious growth going forward, right? Definitely entering a new regime over here in terms of the financial markets that I see, right? But at the end of the day, nothing too drastic that will really shake the boat, assuming no further acts of God, no black swan events, okay? But that is what I see. So investors can still continue to trade, continue to invest wisely. And I think, as I'm going to be discussing with Incher later, right, how we can better use the tools that are available to our users on the Moomoo platform to help them find opportune entries and exit in the markets, and especially with the individual stocks that they are looking at. So that's a very quick summary of what I expect to see going forward into the second half of 2024. Now back to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Isaac. Comprehensive as a summary and also really starting the discussions that we're about to have today related to the topic. And I see some people already typing in questions, so keep them coming, okay? As we transition, I'll be picking the best ones towards the end of the live show. Now, for those of you have questions, I think you are tuning in from several broadcast venues. So it's okay. Just keep them coming because we will just pick it across. And yes, the replay will be available after this. Now, for TotalView itself, I have a few questions for Nasdaq. Now, Inshia, what does Nasdaq TotalView exactly entail? And how can the retail investor really utilize this leveled up access to level two market data beyond as they look into the new year, the year ahead, but then I think it's really about figuring out how they can re-strategize and also invest smarter with this level two market data.
Great question, Olivia. I think it is important for people in this forum to know that Nasdaq TotalView offers retail investor the most complete market order book with the information needed to bring their active trading to the next level. I think Nasdaq was the first exchange to offer depth across all Nasdaq, New York Stock Exchange, regional listed securities for a complete view of the market. To give participants even greater ability to find trading opportunities, Nasdaq incorporated the opening and closing auction to show supply and demand leading to the cross and market opening. I think some of y'all may know that certain platform just offers only limited level 2 or even level 1 information, for example, displaying only 10 level depths, which may not really reflect the real market condition and potential price movement influenced by the total active orders available and visible within Nasdaq TotalView. The charts that we are showing now shows that on a typical day on 22nd March 2024, when the market opens, there was more than 500 price level in the order book for the ticker Tesla. So very quick summary, Nasdaq TotalView gives a view of complete depth of order book across and provide more access to liquidity, allows investors to follow the auction, and finally provide insights into the price movement. Over to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much for that. Now, my next question is there are 17 exchanges in the US. Now, what is the key advantage of Nasdaq TotalView, or why TotalView in the first place?
Why TotalView? Very simple. TotalView is the standard Nasdaq depth data product for informed traders and investors, right? So number one, it has more pending orders. Nasdaq TotalView provides a comprehensive view and insights of the market demand and supply, comparing the constituents across three mainstream indices, for example, Nasdaq 100, S&P 500, and the Russell 1000. Nasdaq TotalView has more than 80% of the depth share by distance from the NBBO, which is the National Best Bid and Offer. This means that the majority of the orders are seen in Nasdaq TotalView. Number two, tighter bid-ask spread. Another important indicator of trading is the bid-ask spread. As we all know, the tighter the spread, the chances of making a trade. Using the same set of mainstream US indices, the Nasdaq bid-ask spreads for trading on Nasdaq trading volume venue ranges from 5.4 bips to 8.8 bips across these indices versus NYSE that of 7.9 to 13.8 bips. And last but not least, greater trading volume. And as a result of this tighter spread and pending orders, the trading volume on Nasdaq trading venue exhibited the biggest market share by volume across all the three mainstream US indices that I mentioned above.
Mm-hmm. Now, we get many questions in Cher about the full order book depth and also the access to it within TotalView. Now, what are some ways that our investors can utilize fully and really understand what level 2 market data can do for them with these potential opportunities?
I think one of the key benefits of utilizing Nasdaq TotalView is the ability to identify support and resistance level. Support and resistance level are two levels on a price chart that appear to mark the upper limit and the lower limit which the stocks is likely to move. Right? The support level is the lowest level the price is likely to fall to. before it bounces back up. Right? The resistance level, on the contrary, is the highest level in the price, likely to rise to before it dips again. So how does Nasdaq TotalView help to uncover support level? Today, I'll share with everybody here in the forum 2 examples. The first, using an example for Ford Motors on a typical day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, when the market opens for trading, Nasdaq TotalView see a total of 115,000 shares queue at a bid price of 13.38. This relatively large buy orders in the order book forms a support level for price reversal. Another example that I'm gonna share is the resistance level, showing this ticker SFX, which is Stick Fix, a clothing e-commerce company listed on Nasdaq. At 12 p.m. Eastern Time on a typical US trading day, the full depth of order book on Nasdaq TotalView shows that there's a big order queue on the bid on the ask for 15,800 at 5.40 cents. These relatively large sell orders form a resistance level for price reversal. Back to you, Oliver.
Now, could you demonstrate as well? Thank you for outlining those examples, but could you give us another example of how an investor may use the components of NOII or indicators within TotalView to help them overall invest smarter?
Yes, NOI is being disseminated by Nasdaq TotalView for the opening, closing crosses, Nasdaq IPO, and port crosses. This data provides invaluable details about the likely opening and closing prices, as well as the potential IPO opening prices through the Nasdaq TotalView dataset. A good example of leveraging the NOI to predict the opening price today, I'm going to share with the audience through IPO opening. In most market, investors only know whether the opening price of a new IPO will rise or fall below the IPO price after it started trading. But Nasdaq TotalView gives a preview of the entire process of the IPO, from opening, trading bid, to what we know during the quote-only period. This could range from a minimum of 10 minutes to several hours during this period. Investors are able to get insights into the IPO opening price via the NOII data within Nasdaq TotalView. Today, I'm going to showcase an example of ARM IPO. As we all know, ARM Holdings is a British semiconductor and software design company listed on Nasdaq on 14 September 2023. The issue price of the IPO back then was $51 a share, and the subsequent opening price was 10% higher, at opening at $56.10 at 12:09 p.m. Eastern Time during that day. Most investors probably might not be aware that pre-IPO order information for ARM has already made accessible in Nasdaq TotalView. Firstly, the full depth of order book was made visible at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in TotalView. The chart that we're going to show you shows the depth of the order book prior to the quote-only period. There was a buy order of $510 for just one share that day. In the market at the time was very significant, indicative of a very substantial difference between the perspective of buyers and sellers in the order book. Secondly, the NOI data published during the start of the quote-only period was at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time that day. During the start of that quote-only period, Nasdaq TotalView disseminated the NOI data for the IPO across for ARM. We saw the price of the crosses went from as high as $65 initially till $60, and we saw buy-side imbalance as well as a sell-side imbalance at the $60 mark. And finally, of course, we all know it settled at $56.10 at 12:09 p.m. Eastern Time. ARM IPO, being the largest IPO that last year, has garnered significant attention. Throughout the whole IPO process, from pre-IPO bidding to post-IPO bidding, as well as the subsequent announcement of the opening price, Nasdaq TotalView and NOII played a crucial role in providing transparent market information. This empowered investors with information to predict the potential opening price in advance and enabling them to tap trading opportunities. It's very long, but I hope through this conversation and through this webinar, Isaac and myself can give further insight on how to utilize Nasdaq TotalView. Back to you, Olivia.
Absolutely. Now we'll be back with you and Cher for the live Q&A, okay? So all the questions coming in, keep them rolling. I'm already picking out the best ones. Now you've heard the insights there. Now how can you apply what you've learned? So if anyone's on their app or on the desktop version, be ready with it because we'll show you how you can quickly access it with some case studies and also maybe just learn for yourselves. Even if you don't have it in front of you, learn for yourselves the pathways or the potential indicators that you might want to look out for as an overview. Now, take it away, Isaac, with this live demo.
Great. Thanks so much, Olivia, for handing over the screen to me, and very insightful sharing by Insha as well. So now I'm just going to do my best to tie in technical analysis and Nasdaq TotalView, and let's see how we can really maximize the tools that we have at our disposal as retail investors. All right, so I really want to start off with my slides. I'm not going to take up too much time, right? And really going into slide 2, right? I really want to share with you guys what is technical analysis. Now, if I were to pose this question to anyone who uses Moomoo, right, they will just tell me, okay, technical analysis is really about looking, at charts, but it's really a lot more than that. Okay, so I want to start off this quote on technical analysis first. It's really one of my favorite quotes regarding technical analysis. I quote from Ralph Acampora, who is seen as the godfather of technical analysis. He's not the creator, but he's like the godfather, one of the earliest users of technical analysis over in the US in a professional setting, right? He's quoted to say that price is fact, earnings are estimates, and facts never change. So at the end of the day, we really want technical analysis is about the study of price action and using price action to help us make a better informed decision when it comes to our trading, when it comes to our investing. So some basic assumptions of technical analysis is that price action reflects all known and unknown information. And at the same time, markets are adaptive and will continuously adjust to new market information. Right, so for those of you who are proponents of efficient market hypothesis, right, unfortunately, this will not stand in the light of technical analysis. So technical analysis can actually be broken down into 3 main branches, right? The first branch would actually be the classical technical analysis, classical TA, I like to call it, is really a study of charts and price action and chart pattern. And then, of course, we have statistical TA, right? So that's the study about relative value. That's the study about momentum, building your factor models, right? And then finally, we have the sentiment and behavioral side of technical analysis. So that's looking at, the sentiment of investors in the market. Are they more risk on? Are they more risk off? Right? What is the crowd psychology saying, right? Are people getting a bit more scared, when they are trading today, or are they a bit more greedy, right? So these are sentiment and behavioral examples. One of the clearest examples in very, very recent times would be the revival of the meme stocks, GameStop and AMC. I'm sure you guys already know about that, right? So moving over to very quickly to the next slide, right? I quote another favorite trader of mine, Paul Tudor Jones, very successful hedge fund manager, right? The whole idea of technical analysis is really to be able to understand the anatomy of a trade and to break it down into, different trade segments. But at the end of the day, the name of the game is that you have to be able to control your risk very well. Whether you're a long-term investor, short-term intraday trader, or scalper, risk control is the name of the game, right? So Paul Tudor Jones is quoted as saying 90% of any great trader is going to be about risk control. So the anatomy of a trade, I am not going to ask questions. Normally, I like to ask the audience questions at this point in time, but it's all in the slides right there, right? The anatomy of the trade can be broken down into, you need to identify your directional bias first. Is the market's up, down, or sideways, right? Where is your entry going to be? where's your exit going to be, and where are you going to take profit? Now, a lot of people tend to focus on the profits, right? They want to know, oh, okay, this is where I'm going to exit and take profits, right? But I put it to you that I think more importantly, you need to know where your stop loss is and your alternative targets are, right? So you know that, if your original game plan doesn't work, okay, you can actually proceed on to your second backup game plan, right? So that's how it is with sport games as well when you're playing sports, right? So what I want to focus on today, okay, is really about the trade and account management, right? And I want to break it down into win rate, risk reward ratio, and how to do the trade management. Now, bear with me a bit, because by understanding all this, you guys will be able to know how to tie in technical analysis with Nasdaq TotalView very, very nicely. So my next slide is going to be a very simple table to look at, right? Quoting Benjamin Graham, who is the father of value investing, right? And also known as the mentor of Warren Buffett, right? He says that the essence of investment management is the management of risk. So here you have hedge fund trader Paul Tudor Jones and value investing founder Ben Graham, both talking about managing risk. So it really means that we as retail investors should do well to pay attention to what they're saying, right? So this is a table, very simple table. The top column the top row will actually show you the win rate, right? And then the leftmost column will show you the risk reward ratio. So the win rate basically means if we are assuming that we have 10 trades, right? Assuming 10 trades. If you have a win rate of 20%, it means that out of 10 trades, okay, you only win two trades, all right? And if you have 60%, out of 10 trades, you win 6 trades, you lose 4 trades. Very simple concept to understand. And then if you have a risk reward ratio of 1:1, it means that for every dollar you're using to risk, every dollar you're risking, you're only getting $1 in profit back. Okay, and if you are risking $1, if you have a risk reward ratio of 1:5, for every $1 that you're risking, you're possibly getting $5 back. So why risk reward and win rate must go together, right? This table tells you, okay, what I really want to focus on is very simply, okay, if you have, let's take the extreme, okay, if you have a 20% win rate, it means that, you are not very good at analyzing the markets, okay, or if a trader is not very good at analyzing the markets, out of 10 trades, he or she only gets 2 trades correct. But if this trader is able to manage his or her risk reward very well, identify the nice entry, identify the good stop loss levels and the take profit levels, right? Even with a risk reward ratio of 1:5, given the long drawn game, right, of trading, this trader would still be able to, at the end of the day, generate a positive return on his or her investments. All right, so that's very interesting, right? You can have a system with very low win rate, right? But as long as you manage your risk well, your risk reward well, right, over a long period of time, staying in the game, right, keeping your teeth in the game, you will be able to generate profits at the end of the day, right? So that is the extreme side of things, right? Of course, on the other side, if you have a system that works very well, 60% win rate, okay, out of 10 trades, you win 6, you lose 4, right? Even with a simple 1:1, you don't manage your risk reward very well. Ideally, at the end of the day, you still have a net profit in terms of the returns when it comes to your trades and your investment, right? So what I'm trying to say is that for all of you retail traders out there, right, who are just starting out, don't be too easily drawn into people who promise you that, okay, my system has a very, very high win rate, right? It doesn't really mean anything. Okay, you can have a 60% win rate, but not shown here. If your risk reward is negative, right, it is still overall a losing strategy, right? So you want to know not just about the win rate, but you want to know how that person that you're learning from or potentially learning from is going to be able to give you a nice risk reward ratio as well. Okay, and then we move on to the next slide, slide number 5, right? I really want to just get into the juicy bit of it now. This is really a very nice visual representation of a risk reward, assuming, you have a nice 1:4.5, 1:5 risk reward trade, right? You can have an entry here, Okay, price never moves in a straight line, but end of the day, with very nice risk reward and a very nice reasonable stop loss, which you can identify using, TA and TotalView, right? You can actually have more confidence to write your trade all the way to the take profit level that you have identified. Now, the next slide is just as true, okay? If you have a risk reward of 1:1, a bit more risky, right? A bit more risky, okay? By being able to identify the nice risk, nice entry, stop loss, take profit levels, okay, you will still be able to generate a winning trade, right? But a bit riskier, because if you lose this trade, it means that you just have to win 2 more trades to be positive. Okay, so that is the whole idea of this risk reward rrepresentation. Okay, and then we move on very quickly, right? Apart from risk reward, right, I want to share with you guys the different types of entries and exits. So today is really about the trade management part of technical analysis, right? To keep things very simple, there are 3 general types of entry and exit. The first is market order, right? So what market order means, it means that whatever price you see in the market, you just want to enter and you buy at the price that is next available to you, right? Sometimes most of the times I would say, right, this is not really the wisest choice to make, okay? You don't go into a shopping center, right, and then you see an item that you like and you immediately want to buy it. You will take some time. I'm sure you'll probably whip out your phone, look at Shopee, look at Amazon, compare prices a bit and see whether you can actually get it cheaper somewhere else, right? So market order is not something that people should always use. All right, then of course you have limit and stop orders, right? So stop order, basically, I have put a chart over here, right? Stop order basically means, when there is when an order is placed above the current market price, and the moment price, if it's a buy stop order, price crosses above it, right, your order will be triggered. You will ideally enter the position. Okay, the sell stop is the opposite. You have a selling price below the current market price. When price drops below, all right, your order is triggered as well. Now, sell limit and buy limit orders are a bit more complicated. It basically means, that you're waiting for price to come back to a better level. If you have a buy limit, price is going up, you have a buy limit below the current market price, you're essentially saying you're waiting for price to come back down to this lower price, okay, on pullback, and then you enter for long. So you're sort of buying it at a discount, right? Likewise, if it's a sell limit, right, you are waiting for price to climb higher, right, to a higher price, and then you enter a short from there. All right, so a bit complicated to grasp, right, but I will leave it to you guys to let it digest a bit, right? Best to try out with our Moomoo paper trade account, right, all these different orders, so you get the better hang of the difference between market, limit, and stop orders. All right, so I'm going to move over to just sharing some charts with you guys. What I have here is really just putting the tools that I have and into practice, right? As Jim Simmons, another great hedge fund manager who has recently passed, right? As he said, right, the best decisions are made with data and evidence, not just gut feeling, right? So, which is why I can really appreciate Incha's earlier sharing about Nasdaq TotalView, right? It's a very systematic, statistical, and factual way of looking at market price in terms of the market ladder, the level 2 data. So what I have here is JD.com, right, on the weekly chart. Okay, it's a long-term chart. Okay, just giving you guys a long-term picture. As you can see, price is downwards trending, right? Downward trending because price is making lower highs, lower lows, but it has actually sort of bottomed out, right? Shaping what some would actually argue to be inverse head and shoulders kind of pattern, right? And that actually makes for a very nice entry level at around, I believe, around the 28 level, right? The neckline of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. So you can look to buy around there, and then after that, ideally play a bounce in price, because this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. That is a reversal price pattern. Then we want to play all the way up to somewhere near the descending trend line, which is the take profit level. So here I have identified the support, all All right, the entry level, I have also identified my take profit level. Very simply, the stop loss is going to be below the right shoulder of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. All right, at the end, I will show you guys how to navigate better the Moomoo platform to identify these opportunities. Okay, and then moving on. So this is JD.com. Another chart that I want to share with you guys would actually be Haidilao, right? So for those of you Singaporeans who are a bit like foodie, you love food like me, like myself, right? So Haidilao is quite a nice place to actually go for that family gathering every once in a while, right? Not often. Maybe some of you do it often, but I don't do it very often. Just once in a while, get to enjoy, gather together as a family. But this is Haidilao's chart listed in Hong Kong. Right, later on, Haidilao will also be listed on Nasdaq. I think they are looking at about a 1.38 billion US valuation to be listed on Nasdaq under the ticker super high. Right, I think the ticker code is HDL. You guys will be able to find it when the IPO is being announced, right? But either way, okay, Haidilao will soon be like the other Chinese counters, is a dual listing. You can find it on a Hong Kong exchange. You can also find it on the Nasdaq as well. Right, so Haidilao over here is also holding on an upwards trend line, right? And you can see that the technical indicators, are bullish, holding above moving average. MACD is trending upwards, showing a build-up in bullish momentum as well. So I've identified a nice support level, and you can look to play upwards to the first resistance, right? The price is right there for you guys as well. Okay, so all in, right, using simple technical analysis, market structure, having a very nice risk reward level, okay, identify strong support resistance. Again, show you guys later how we can use TradingView to help give us a bit, trade the TotalView, right? Sorry, I got it confused, right? Nasdaq TotalView. All right, you'll be able to use Nasdaq TotalView to give you a greater confidence in terms of entering your trades when you compare to the technical chart. All right, so that is really a very short summary that I have of using technical analysis, the basis behind why we use technical analysis, focusing on win ratio, right, and also the risk-reward ratio, and then having a good support resistance, entry level, breaking down the trade into a different factors of the trade, different anatomy of the trade, right? Combining all this together, right, with the total view of Nasdaq will be able to give us better confidence in our trading and our investing journey. And that is what I have in terms of that very short sharing, right? Back to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Isaac. We have so many questions coming in already. So let's head on to the most exciting part of every live show, which is answering your burning questions for our guest speakers today. So let's dive into the first question. Now, someone wants to know, when does the data kick in on the Moomoo app, particularly for pre-market? Will they have access to all of it, or will they have to wait for particular timings? Isaac.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Initially when I was tinkering around with the app, I got a shock because I remember having a pre-discussion with Insure that TotalView will be able, you'll be able to see pre-market data. So it was before 4 p.m. and I was wondering how come I didn't get my data. So but yes, they are right. Pre-market data kicks in at when the pre-market goes live in the US, subject to the daylight savings. But you will be able to find the Nasdaq TotalView data kick in once the pre-market goes live, and that is actually very helpful. You start seeing it ticking very quickly. Quite exciting to look at.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Next questions for InShare. Is it possible to give a total view of orders such that we can see the relative position of our own orders in the price queue?
Yeah, you can definitely see that on the Moomoo app, because it's all consolidated by price, and if you could break up, you'll be able to potentially identify that your particular order. But there are so many orders being queued at a particular price point, you may not be fully sure that that is your order in the queue, right? The liquidity is deep. So it all depends the type of order. You could roughly guess that's your order showing on the so-called mobile app.
Thanks for that. Now, next question is about using TA in the context of current market changes, particularly for the Fed talk. So, how can we make use of technical analysis around these changes? And how can we determine what is dependent on what, right, after these announcements? Is technical analysis less important for long-term investments? Isaac?
Oh, very interesting question, right? People tend to think that, you know, technical analysis is more for short term and fundamental analysis is more for long term. I would posit to you, you know, a bit more of a different perspective. Think of it as think of this as, you know, fundamental analysis or even economic data that are being released, right? These are your long-term targets, right? So imagine you are going across country on a journey. Now I know Singapore is small. You don't really need a map to navigate from Jurong all the way to Changi, right? But imagine if, you know, you are in Singapore and you want to navigate your way up to the north where our neighbors are all the way in KL, right? You are going to have a GPS. You know your end goal is the city of KL, right? But you need your GPS to tell you where to turn, how to navigate along the way until you finally get to your destination. So TA is the complement to fundamental analysis, which TA actually helps you position yourself, gives you a bit of warning, forward guidance, right, on how to navigate the route. So the road so that you can actually finally end up safely, ideally, without too much scratches and bumps, right, at your final destination, right? So it is the best of both worlds if you can actually combine, you know, technical analysis with fundamental analysis. So that is on the broad picture perspective, right? But the first part of the question, when there are economic news data that are being released, example, like last night's CPI or even the day before the PPI, those are important news data. Right. Market tends to whipsaw quite a bit. Now, this is where I would actually advise the investors, the more beginner ones, right? The more newbie, right? Try not to go down to anything lesser than 1 hour time frame, because anything below the 1 hour time frame is really just market noise. It's really a lot of scalping action going on, right? Upon the release of the important economic data, maybe give the market about 1 to 2 hours to sort of settle let the volatility settle down before, you know, I mean, that 1 to 2 hours also actually gives you some time to take in all the information you need to make a proper, logical, rational decision whether you're going to buy, sell, or hold. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, it's comprehensive, but just extending to InShare, do you have any more sharing or insights related to this, especially for the last part of a fireside chat, right? We talked about some indicators using the NOII and also what they can have access to with TotalView. Any insights?
Yeah, I think what Isaac mentioned earlier using TA, I think Nasdaq TotalView will completely complement what Isaac has shared earlier, right? In terms of data set that leveraging on Nasdaq TotalView to identify both the support and resistance level, as well as this NOI data. So what I think the people attending in this forum could potentially do is, number one, go to identify the next IPO that will be, you know, going listed on Nasdaq. And then identify on Moomoo app to see what time will be the start of that quote-only period. So at 8 a.m. or 8 a.m. Eastern time, you are able to see the order book start building up on the Nasdaq TotalView, right? And subsequently, when the quote-only period starts for that particular IPO, follow the price movement versus the order book. I think that you'll be able to see the insight of how the price movement based on the order book, as well as the NOI data that's being displayed by the Moomoo app, to see how this whole market IPO price opening opens up, right? For example, if it's 10 minutes, lucky you do not need to stay up too so late. But if it's like IPO that lasted almost 2 hours, yeah. So that journey of looking at the price movement will be very interesting.
Absolutely. The next question, we've got a new investor right here tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Now, Isaac, perhaps you like to take this question. From an educational point of view, you know, I realize Moomoo Singapore likes to talk about level 2 market data. Now, how is that different from a level 1? And is there such a thing as level 3? Isaac.
All right, thanks for that question, Olivia. Okay, very, very good question, right? That was one of the questions that I used to wonder myself as well. So basically, level one, market data, right? Is very simply just the buy price, the current bid price, and the current ask price, and then you have the spread, right? So that is the price that you see the broker offering to you on the markets, and whether you're buying or selling. So that's really level one data, right? What it means is what you see is what you get. So level two data, right? There are a lot of names for it, right? Some people like to call it the market ladder, right? Some people like to call it market depth, right? Some people like to call it reading the tape, looking at the tape, right? So level two data, if later during the demo, I'll be able to show you guys, Nasdaq TotalView is very, very comprehensive, right? It goes all the way down to 60 levels, which is amazing, right? So what it actually tells you, it tells you, it breaks down the price levels, right? 60 above, 60 below, right? And it actually tells you, okay, for the next 60 prices below the current market price and the next 60 prices above the current market price, right? These are how many people that are queuing up. So imagine with me, if you will, right? I love giving analogies. Imagine with me, if you will, okay? You are walking into McDonald's. Like me, you love McDonald's. You want your Big Mac, right? But McDonald's is very, very crowded. Just finished, a Taylor Swift concert, for example, right? And you stepping into McDonald's. Now, there are 10 counters that are open, right? But of course, each counters, imagine, okay? If you only have level one data, right? All I'm going to tell you is, okay, you step into McDonald's, you are not able to see how many people are queuing up at each counter of the McDonald's outlet that you're at, right? You just know that you want to buy the Big Mac, you just don't, you know that 10 counters are open, but you don't know, right, how many people are queuing at each counter. Okay, what level two does is that level two opens it up to tell you how many people are queuing at each counter. So naturally, you want to join the one with the shorter queue, right? Because unless you have a lot of time to waste, then you join the one with the longer queue, right? Or you think that the one with the longer queue gives you the best service and you really like that service, then you want to join the one with the longer queue. But logical thinking will tell you that let's go for the one with the shorter queue because I want my Big Mac. I want it now as soon as possible. I don't want to wait, right? No amount of good service in the world is going to make me want to wait for my Big Mac, right? So that is how the level two data essentially works. Level three, unfortunately, from my knowledge, we don't have a level three data. So I hope that answers your question.
Or maybe I can chime in to what Isaac have shared. Yeah, maybe I could chime in. I think for Nasdaq TotalView, we price ourselves or we prime ourselves as advanced level 2 data because we offer the full depth of book, right? So I think in the marketplace, there could be 10 depth, 20 depth, and so on and so forth. That generally is level 2. It depends from jurisdiction to jurisdiction or market by market, how many of the order depth that one can see from the respective exchange. But for US and for Nasdaq, we display the full depth of order book. In one of the example I shared earlier on Tesla, on the market opening, you are able to see 500 price levels. So essentially, that is what we term as ourselves as advanced level 2.
Right. So if you're talking about just the liquidity, right? So I know that in TotalView, you can actually experience 20 times more liquidity, right, than just the standard level 2 quotes. Could you just expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. So if we could, bring up slide 3, and that really shows the so-called the depth of share from the liquidity standpoint, as you mentioned, Olivia. So through against the NBBO, which we always mark ourselves against, Nasdaq has 80% of the price depth in terms of orders being sent to the Nasdaq trading venue. Right. So as we all know, more liquidity in the marketplace, chances of trades being done, spreads are getting better, which I've shared earlier in the subsequent slides that I've shared, in the beginning. So yeah, over to you.
Next question, someone would like to know, what are some quick guidelines on how to use the MACD indicator? Isaac?
Wow, okay, wasn't expecting a question on the MACD, but a good one, right? How to use the MACD indicator. I will give you the short distilled version and what I find that has really worked best for myself. Okay, without going into the theory. right? So MACD, right? Very simple. MACD is an indicator. Some people like to mistake it for RSI and stochastics, but they are very different, right? RSI stochastics, you are bounded between -100 and +100. MACD is different. MACD, you just have a zero level in the middle. You can go as high as +400, 500, or you can go as low as, -100, 200, sometimes even to -500. It really depends, right? But MACD tells you the momentum, right? So if you're above zero, it means that price is in a bullish environment, right? So prices are generally, or has already been generally trending higher. If MACD is below zero, then prices are in a bearish environment. They are generally already trending lower. So that is how I use MACD to tell me whether prices are in a bullish environment or a bearish environment. Now, just to take it one step further, if MACD is above zero, okay, and there's a crossover in the MACD, this is just a signal for me to say that, look, we are in an upwards trend, but right now, short term, we might see a bit of a retracement or just a very small pullback, right? So that is how I use MACD. The same is true as well on the other side. If MACD is below zero, we are in a bearish environment. I see a crossover to the upside. It just tells me that, okay, we are in a downwards trend, but prices could be just doing a small short-term bounce. It could be a dead cat bounce. It could be a bounce that leads to a real recovery, but at the end of the day, we are still in a downwards trend. So I hope that's helpful for you.
Thank you for that. Now, I'm loving the questions coming in because you guys are really asking everything you need to know regarding the title of the live show today, right? We're talking about spotting your next entry and also exit points using TA, but really great educational questions here. Now, we have time for about 2 more questions. And I know, Isaac, we have somebody here who wants to know how you can really apply that on the desktop version. So maybe you could quickly just share your screen and perhaps you can go through a quick case study related to this because we have some questions related to the live demo space. However, I think, Isaac, perhaps you could just choose a case study for us and then take them through the pathway.
Okay, very quickly, right? What I have here is JD.com. It was actually shared in my slides earlier, right? And JD.com, what you want to do, what you see now is the Moomoo platform on the PC desktop version, right? So you can actually just search for JD.com, right? And that would actually bring up the chart. That would actually, on the right-hand side, it will bring up all the data, all the fundamental data, price data that you need to know about JD.com. So how do you navigate to Nasdaq TotalView, right? Of course, firstly, under the promotional tab, you need to activate, your free 3 months trial Nasdaq TotalView that has been very kindly gifted to us, right, by Nasdaq. So on the right-hand side, let's say I already have JD.com already pulled up on my screen. You can see that price is moving a bit, right? On the right-hand side, you can scroll down, right? When you scroll all the way down past the stocks comparison, past the intraday data, just below the bid and ask, right? What you see, you want to look for this word called order book, right? So when you have order book, you see this small little house here, right? You click on it, okay? Now, you have Blue Ocean, you have Acrabook, right? You have all the other data, but I'm not really bothered with that. I really only want to highlight Nasdaq TotalView. All right, so I select Nasdaq TotalView. You see when I toggle it, right? The entire Nasdaq TotalView data is brought up. Okay, and then interestingly, right, another thing that you want to note is that always select aggregate by price, right? How does this work? Okay, you can see if aggregate by price is not selected, just taking an example, look at the buy side, right? The bid side. You have 2 prices, 33.75. One has a 100 order, another 33.75 has a 1,000 order, right? People might be confused by this. So you aggregate by price, okay? You can see that 33.75 essentially adds up both 1,000 and 100 to give you a total order of 1,100, right? So it just means that there is an order here for 1,100 shares of JD.com, right? So at 33.75, you have 1,100 shares waiting to be bought over there, right? So that is really how we use the order book. Lastly, very quickly, right? Over here, this small little square that has 5, 10, 20, 40, 60. That shows you the number of orders, the price level that you want to go, right? So what we have on Moomoo, we are offering all the way up to 60. I know Incha says 500, right? But 500, I think I'll scroll until my fingers my finger gets sore, right? But 60 is more than enough, trust me, okay? Because JD.com, as I shared in the chart earlier, right, I have a buy entry level at 28, right? Example, 28. And if you highlight 60, okay, you can scroll all the way down to go down to price 28 level. You can see that at the 28 level, the 28 level, we only have an order for 10 shares right there. Right, so that's not too bad. You know that it's not an overcrowded space. Coupled with TA, you know that that is also the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders. If price really does a very strong pullback on JD.com for whatever reason, maybe market sell-off, negative news, unexpected events, right? You know that a strong support is at 28, right? You can have confidence that if you were to put in an order for maybe buying 100 or even 1,000 shares of JD.com at 28, right? There is a high chance of your order getting filled, because according to Nasdaq TotalView, right, there are only 10 outstanding orders there right now. But conversely, on the other side, right, if you're going to put, right, a buy order example at 33.62, you know, over there, the space is already crowded, right? You have 1,422 outstanding orders waiting to be cleared at the 33.62 level, right? What are the chances of your orders being filled at a level? A bit less, right? So maybe you want to put it at, you want to front run. Okay, I shouldn't really say front run, but you want to be one step ahead, right? Using the queuing analogy at McDonald's earlier, then maybe instead of queuing at 33.62, you queue at 33.64, right? Only 100 outstanding orders over there, right? So yeah, you pay 2 cents more, right? But the chances of you having your orders filled is at least higher as compared to 1422 orders at 33.62 level. So I hope that answers your question, right? How we can very quickly combine TA together with Nasdaq TotalView to really just look for that good opportunity in terms of entry and exit, right? So the strategy can be applied to exit strategies as well. So I hope that answers your question. Back to you, Olivia.
Stay on your on your screen for a second, because we just got one extender question very quickly on the NOI data, because we talked about it a lot on here. I know Isaac, you yourself brought up the famous and well-loved Heidi Lau over here. So, you know, is there any way they can use this kind of data to follow through with, for example, the Heidi Lau IPO, right? So is there any way they can really summarize for themselves what to look out for on your screen at the moment?
Okay, so same thing, right? As I mentioned earlier, Heidi Lau looking for dual listing, right? Looking to raise cash in the capital markets. They are going to be listed. They're going to IPO in Nasdaq under this ticker HDL, but the name is called Super High. So if you cannot find HDL, you can just search Super High at the top left-hand corner under the search bar. You should be able to see, you know, Super High here, Hong Kong, but you want to look at Super High International US. So HDL is the ticker. Click on it, right? Now, you're not going to get anything yet because the IPO hasn't started, right? So when the IPO is starting, pre-market, right, as I mentioned right at the start, okay, pre-market, your TotalView, your Nasdaq TotalView data should start ticking and blinking in the bottom right-hand corner, right? So that is how you can actually navigate and getting that extra early jump in, right? On that Heidi Lau IPO, right? So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your screen.
Okay, thank you, Olivia.
Thank you. So thank you to the audience members for your questions. And I know a lot of you are thanking us in the chat box at the moment. So it's our pleasure always to answer some of your burning questions, and just keep them coming, because we still look at the chat box after the show ends. And of course, the replay is available, because I know some of you missed, for example, Insha's sharing just now. You can tune into the replay right after this, made available immediately after the show ends. Okay, so to wrap up this live show together, what is that final takeaway for our audience members tuning in? Insha.
First and foremost, thank you, Moomoo Singapore, for having me here. And for the audience here, I think I would like to share that or mention that Moomoo Singapore has made available Nasdaq TotalView to all its users on the Moomoo app. And please take this opportunity to leverage on this data product called TotalView to power your investment decisions. I hope everyone can have a successful trading experience using Nasdaq TotalView. Over back to you, Olivia.
Thank you, Inche. And Isaac, what about yourself?
Well, definitely a lot of takeaways. But one key takeaway that I would like to leave with all of our listeners, right, is that, don't just blindly do TA for the sake of doing TA. Don't just blindly stare at charts or looking at fundamentals just for the sake of it, thinking that you have that extra edge, right? Use the tools that Moomoo trading platform has made available to you, such as TotalView, for example. Right, we also have great fundamental and technical data on the charts, right? Make use of those to make a more sound decision, especially when it comes to, trading and investing for yourself. So that is the takeaway that I'll leave with you guys. Thank you, Olivia.
And that was Inche from Nasdaq and Isaac from moomoo Singapore. See you next time, gentlemen, for our next show together.
Thank you, Olivia. See you, everyone.
Thank you, Olivia. Bye, everyone.
To the audience members, if you have any more questions, I mentioned before, still drop us a message here in the chat box and we will keep track of it. And of course, if you have any customer service questions, right, on the product related question, or if you have something related to social media or working together in terms of partnerships, definitely just drop us an email as well, or just drop it in the chat box and we will get in touch with you. Okay, so we cannot wait for more upcoming shows like this. Remember, this is just a chance for you to educate yourselves so that you yourself can elevate your own personal investment journey. And it's our way to connect you and be the bridge to experts like Inche and Isaac today, so that really build that network together so that we can do investing together and not alone. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Here is the QR code to follow our pages. So if you want to be in the know and stay up to date for the upcoming shows, we've got the next one upcoming, but I'm not going to tell you what it's all about. You're going to have to find out for yourselves what the next show is over here in the QR code. Scan it and you can book in for yourselves. And next up, we also have the details for the Nasdaq TotalView 3 months trial just for you. So this is just exclusive access for our users. Definitely check out what it's all about with this QR code right here. And once again, it was a pleasure having everyone with us. We'll see you for our next show together. Happy investing, everyone. I'm Olivia Higgins.